This is Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given is not intended to replace that of your business advisor. Now, let's get down to talking about your business, your success. This is Business Talk.
Good afternoon, Peg.
Good afternoon. Great to be here today.
Here we are in beautiful Ohio.
Yes, gorgeous weather,
Yes.
Nice and warm.
Yes. Happy July, everybody.
Happy July. Now, Pete, tell me, who are you? Who are we? Who are you and who are we?
Well, for all you listening audience, millions of listeners out there and all the ships at sea, we are both business coaches.
And
so
what
we
is that?
work with business owners and their employees to help them get better results. That's the big picture.
I like that.
And it could be a lot of our clients are what we call small to mid-sized firms, so 20 to 200 employees. And we help the owners, and sometimes it's a single owner, sometimes it's multiples, get a better return on their investment, whether their investment is money or time or whatever it is. We get better results out of the business. And a lot of what we do is work with people on relationships. That's where we spend more than half of our time, I think.
Well,
60 to 70% of it's on relationships.
And we do work with a lot of corporate clients as well.
Right. That's the other part of it.
Executive.
Yes,
on executive
coaching.
coaching.
Yes.
And
business coaching means we're helping the entire business to improve. Executive coaching, we're generally working with one or two executives in a larger firm and helping them to learn some skills or maybe drop a habit or two and be able to take on more.
That is perfect.
And progress.
Mm-hmm. And we're used as leverage. It was funny. I was just talking to somebody last week, and they're like, I know what I can do to help my managers, and this is a president of a company.
Yeah.
But I don't have time.
Oh, that's very common. Yeah. They are spread pretty thin.
And I know they need development, and it's not that I'm not spending any time. It's just the amount of time.
Right.
So we help with that as well.
Not that you don't enjoy developing your people.
Right, exactly.
But if you've got another 50 things on your plate.
Right.
Yep, we are
so that's
leverage.
a little bit of who we are. And
Right.
Our format's going to be the fact that we're going to talk a little bit about good news. And then our topic for today, if anybody's ever heard it, is NLP, which stands for?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Absolutely. We're going to talk
So
a
if you're
little
driving, don't try to write this down. Just remember NLP.
Yes, we'll just say it NLP. Yeah. And we're going to dive into a little bit about what that means, why would it benefit me, and it's a lot on communication and studying people. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about that today.
Now, if you go to our website, which is, Peggy?
TakeActionBusinessCoaching.com.
You can go by topic and look up past shows. And in a few days, this show will be on there. It'll be NLP.
Yes. So you can look at all of our shows. So obviously that you hook it up through your Bluetooth, and you can look at all of our archive shows and learn something about all the different topics, or
We've
pass
got
them
them in
on.
there about leadership and management and hiring and time management and all kinds of different things, sales. And
yes, you and Michelle had one that was last week. What was that on?
Well, it was about execution, about making
No
sure you
excuses.
follow through. No excuses.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a
It was
good
a
one.
Brian Tracy book that was, it's highly recommended. It's a good book.
It's good. Okay, so
Very
Pete,
good
do you want to
stuff.
get into the new
Yeah,
the
so
good
some
news?
good news, and this is pretty close to home. So they are building a $1.3 billion aluminum mill in Ashland, Kentucky, creating 550 jobs.
Oh.
Now, this is this is a
Good.
pretty big deal. Use a lot of electricity, use a lot of local labor to run the place, right? But it's also, they've received 2,600 applications. Wow, many of them with heart-wrenching personal anecdotes. So people are hungry for these high-paying jobs. And
Wow.
Ashland, Kentucky has been on some hard times, and unemployment in the county is at 8.9%, and it's below 5% in the country as a whole.
Wow. Okay.
So this town really needs this thing.
That's good.
So
Okay.
the other one, you get a kick out of this. So lessons from Mike Tyson's trainer.
Oh.
Isn't this cool?
Yes, I want to know. Tell me some lessons from Mike. Now, where was this, Pete? Where was this?
This one was out of, I believe, the Wall Street Journal, I think. And you should see the picture of this guy. It's Cus, C-U-S, D'Amato. He looks kind of like Fred on, what was it, I Love Lucy.
Oh,
That's what he
Fred.
looks like,
He does look
right?
like him.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. He looks just like Fred from
him.
I Love
He
Lucy.
does.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyway, apparently this guy kind of befriended Mike Tyson when he was a chubby 13-year-old juvenile delinquent
Okay.
in 1979. And he pretty much adopted him and had him move in with him. And he wrote a book about it, Undisputed Truth. Tyson did. But a couple of the things, one of them, and you'll like this, Peg, Affirmations. He was a big fan of affirmations.
Okay.
Physical conditioning is important, but he said psychological training is more important than physical conditioning.
And, we heard that. Pete and I got to be trained by the Olympic psychologists a while back. And they talked about how when the Olympians go on site to compete, at that level, it is all about your head and not about the physical attributes, because you've done everything you have to at that point.
Yeah.
Now it's just getting over the finish line is all in your head.
And the other interesting thing about this is that sometimes that supreme confidence can take you too far.
I think we've seen that with Tyson, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Is he the guy that bit off the other guy's ear?
That would be that guy.
Okay. And that's, we don't usually do that.
Oh, he went to jail. I mean, he had
other issues too.
He had
right?
quite a few issues.
So affirmations, that's one.
Okay.
Visualization is the other one. And basketball players do this too, is visualize the ball going through the hoop. Right?
Absolutely.
You have to believe it's going to go through there.
Absolutely.
And then you also have to kind of see it go through.
And, if we can talk about visualization for you listening as a manager, let's say, or if you're an employee, visualization is important for you of where you want to be and where you want to go as well.
Oh, correct.
And
yes.
doing that every day, like picturing yourself, whatever it is,
right,
of you doing that.
Winning a big account or hiring a perfect manager for a department or whatever it happens to be.
Exactly.
It does help you attract what you need. And then preparation, that's the other thing. And he said Tyson's really...
Okay, so these are lessons from Tyson.
Cus D'Amato, who was Tyson's, mentor really, and coach. And then discipline. And he said Tyson really, they ran an Army-style place, like whether it's a dinner table, everywhere. Everything was very disciplined and organized and helping with chores and those kind of things. And he really taught this young man to improve himself.
But discipline, we teach that as well. It's the discipline of doing what you have to do, even though you don't want to do it, to get to the place you want to be.
Yeah, right. You got to do the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that will do it.
Is that good? Is that good for good news? That's good news.
Why not? Yeah, it was a little interesting. So it was
that
a little different, right?
I like that.
So this is Peg and Pete, and this is Business Talk. And our website again, Peg, for those of you who would want to listen to another show.
TakeActionBusinessCoaching.com. And there's also a way of reaching us if you want to reach us.
Right.
Not only by phone, but by email. TakeActionBusinessCoaching.com. Okay.
And you could call it 614-306-7922. So neuro-linguistic programming. That's the title of the subject today.
Right. And so I'm trying to think of when people use this, they use this in sales situations.
Definitely.
Big into sales. And I think the police use neuro-linguistic programming quite a bit because depending on how your eyes shift, when
Have they used this on you recently?
They did not use that on me, but they do use it.
I'm
Thank
just
you,
asking.
Pete.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I've been good so far.
Or our producer, maybe our producer.
Yeah, let's see, Alan. No, maybe not. So, so it's your ability to read. It's your ability to read people.
So for example, the Israelis are very big on not so much on the metal detectors and the physical security items when you go into the airport. They're reading people's body language. They're looking into their eyes, their facial expressions. They're really looking for signs of stress and things like that on people. Well, and
there is a movie. It's on Netflix now, but it was a series of a guy that does that. Like it's the whole series is that he catches people lying. And neuro-linguistic programming can do that. Okay. But what we're going to talk about really is a little bit about how to communicate with people, how to get people to relate better to you through neuro-linguistic.
As a business owner, a couple of situations where this is really important. Number one is sales, and number two is leadership with your employees.
Right.
And it could be your customers as well.
And one thing we see is one of the things Pete and I do. So let's say you say, Peg and Pete, I'm not real sure about coaching. What is it that I can do? And the first thing we do is we come in and we'll do a 360 with you to figure out what your team is saying, what is going well and what does need to improve, and create a plan from that.
So sometimes it clarifies strong points of your culture, things that are going really well, right? It reinforces those ideas, and then it can also point out some areas where you need some improvement. So where you have a cultural goal or a value that you have, but it's not quite embedded in the whole team.
Right.
And there's some issues there.
And so NLP could help create better connection is what, there was a way to get around that. We're working with somebody right now on creating better connections, which creates better trust, which creates a better culture. And using NLP is just one of the strategies and tools we use to get there.
So this tool is something that could, as a manager or a leader who's doesn't have a lot of time, we mentioned that right at the beginning, that, hey, I don't have enough time to coach my people. Effective use of this could actually get more done with a little less effort.
So when we return, we're going to talk a little bit about the strategies and tools that you can use. We're going to dive into auditory, kinesthetic, visual thinking, talking, writing.
Okay.
We're talking about communication, on how to read people and what to do, looking at their eyes, figuring that out. We're going to talk a little bit about how this ties into leadership as well, right?
Okay, yeah. And there's a book, a paperback called Brilliant NLP, and I don't remember the author.
Oh, the Brilliant NLP. It's a wonderful book that gives you strategies and tools to use. That
it's not a real long book. It's a good read, though.
Yeah, so when we return, we'll dive into NLP.
Perfect.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
So we're talking today about neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP.
Right, and we are just scratching the surface a bit. There is so much to learn in this. You could go 2 hours of it.
Mention that book title again.
Oh, okay. So one of the books that Pete and I have read that we really have enjoyed, it's called Brilliant NLP.
Right.
And it is by, I'm looking it up right now, Pat Hutchinson.
Pat Hutchinson.
Yes.
Brilliant NLP.
And it's what the most successful people know, say, and do. And it's really helping you with relationships and building them and connection. So definitely
really
a good one.
A side benefit of emotional intelligence. It'll really help you connect with people quicker. Right?
So let's go ahead and dig right in.
Okay.
And one of the things that we wanted to start with, Pete, I'm going to jump in here because we say this all the time to leaders, is are you telling them or are you selling them?
Yeah.
Because a manager will tell, a leader sells.
Oh, I like that. That's a good difference between a manager and a leader. And what we really want is to develop as many leaders in your organization as possible at all levels,
right.
Particularly the business owner. And really what Peg just said is important, because what we want to do is to be focused on other people. And if you're selling, you're letting other people know the benefits to them. Why would they want to take action on whatever it is you're talking about?
You're creating buy-in. And so often, especially if you're a leader who likes to get things done, very task-oriented, this is a watch out for you, because you are so valued in checking the box off to get done what you know is great, that sometimes you might forget to bring your people along with you. And what you'll see is some resentment. You'll start seeing some anger, fear. And so you need to create buy-in, which means you need to start selling them. And the way you're going to start selling them is one of the strategies is through neuro-linguistic programming.
Right. And building a strong relationship with that individual.
Right.
And realizing, and there's a note here on our notes here, is that every sale, and this could be, when we say sale, let's talk about, it could be something in your business where you're talking to one of your employees and you want them to take action on something. Let's assume that's a sale as well.
Right.
Not
exactly.
just a potential customer of yours. You want somebody to get something done in a certain way. It's all based on the strength of your relationship with that person.
So your job is to create a great relationship. Here's one of the things you can do is rank your relationships with your direct reports or your team. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, with
Absolutely.
5 being the greatest. Maybe you have a 3 or a 4. Now, if you're a president of a company and you have 10,000 employees, maybe just do the executive team. Right. If you are a person with 100 employees, again, do your direct reports. Hopefully you don't have 100 direct reports. Yeah,
and that 5, when you rank someone a 5, that person most likely will anticipate what you really want to get done and do it without even asking you, and when necessary, let you know that it's completed.
Right.
And they'll do it correctly, and they'll do it efficiently, and they'll do it on time.
And so one of the questions when we do these 360s, which we talked about before, which is an interview of your team, is we're looking to see if you did get buy-in. Are you getting buy-in? Because a lot of times you're moving your organization forward. Are you getting buy-in from the team, or are you moving ahead without them? So part of neuro-linguistic programming is building this relationship to get the buy-in, to get to sell them so that they follow.
So you don't want to go so fast. Now, this happened with a client of yours within the last few weeks, where the leader was going faster than their employees.
Yes.
And it's a highly trained leader who's very technically competent and a great person as well. And she was a little ahead of the team, and it caused a problem.
And the team could feel it, and they didn't feel like they were bringing along.
How did that make them feel when that happened?
It made them feel uncomfortable. What we needed to do is go back. I always say leadership is about going back, taking their hand, and bringing them along with you. You don't want to...
Not necessarily physically.
Yes. Leave in the dust. You don't want to leave them in the dust.
Yeah. So part of it is about getting through what we call a filter. So everybody has their own work background, their own behavior profile, their own upbringing, and their basic wiring. And we've got to figure out how this person might perceive the task or assignment or the progress that I'm about to help them make.
So just so you guys understand what neuro-linguistic programming stands for. So neuro would be the way the mind works.
Okay, your brain.
Yes. And then linguistic is the language and its influence.
Because that's how we communicate. We
Correct.
use our language.
And then the programming is engineering words to program the mind. Because we all have computers. So how do we program our mind? So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So one way is really, Pete, if you want to dive into the engineering of the words and the choices that we use.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the sales cycle, what you want to be able to do is to focus on the relationship, right? And
right.
One of the first steps of this is exchanging information. When you're first meeting a prospect, what is the information usually at that point?
Right.
It's usually surface level things, right?
Data.
Pleasantries.
It's data.
It could be, hey, what a great business you have here. How long have you been open? Give me a little history, that type of thing. And they might ask you about, well, tell me a little bit about your company, so I understand at a high level where you're coming from. And then it's about getting to the point where you're starting to maintain and develop the relationship.
Got it.
And moving towards a decision.
And so one of the things that as we're exchanging information, it's how do we address them? So there's different ways to address people.
So one of them is language pacing. If I talk way too fast, it could make another person uncomfortable. It may be just fine for me, or maybe it's fine for Peg and I. We both tend to talk a little fast, but it might be uncomfortable for somebody else.
I like that you said that because often we do hear, we usually, and there's people that move fast and there's people that move slow. And what we want to say to each one of you is, hey, you guys that are speaking more methodically, speed up. And hey, you guys that speak too slow, slow down a little, meet in the middle, and that way you connect with people.
So when you first start to talk to somebody, one thing to keep an eye on is how fast do they speak.
That's a good one.
And not to mimic them, because we don't want to do that. That's rude. But we do want to, if I am a very fast talker and I'm sitting with someone who's very slow, I do want to tone it down just a little bit. And it's respectful.
We call it mirroring.
Mirroring
Match, versus mimicking.
Mirroring.
Yes.
Right.
Versus the mimicking. Yes.
So the other thing is language mixing, just using different words to encourage somebody. And you have to understand them a little bit, too, to be able to do that.
Right.
Right?
You have to be able to
so
read the
person. You've got two girls. You talk to them somewhat differently. Now, they're different ages, too. So that comes into play.
Right. So we have Allie and Lauren. So Allie is 16 now, and Lauren is 13. They just had birthdays. That's why I had to think. And you're right. You do address, just like you have different employees that are at different levels, and they like the choice of words are going to be different.
Yep. So one fast-paced, one slower-paced. The slower pace may be very comfortable for her, mm-hmm. and the other one really needs a fast pace.
Got it. Agreed. Yeah. And then I think that if you look at the words and the mix of words that you use, there's 3 different types of categories that we're going to describe. So one is visual, one is auditory, and one is kinesthetic.
And so visual words. Go ahead.
And whatever the thing is you need to read who that, Pete, you said that earlier. Let's read who these people are and then pick the words that we want, right?
So a visual person could be someone who is dressed very smartly. Could be someone who's dressed in very bright colors. They could be really pressed, right? Their shirts
excellent.
are neat,
yes.
And crisp corners on their pants and things like that.
Their communication style is going to be visual. You will connect with them on a visual basis. And then there's auditory. So auditory would be that they learn and like to communicate through words.
Right.
They listen.
That's their primary method of learning, is just listening. And they may not even have to look at you while you're talking.
So if you've ever had somebody say, you go, look at me when I'm talking to you, well, guess what? They don't need to understand. They actually would prefer to look at you with their ear.
Yeah, and I apologize, Ben, my oldest son, Ben, who lives in Chicago now, when he was a teenager, he would do that. He'd be looking at the corner of the room, and he heard everything I said, and he heard every meaning of everything I was saying, but he didn't need to look at me. He did the same thing in school, too. He'd be looking at the floor and this and that, and he was purely an auditory learner.
Processor learner. And then the third area is kinesthetic.
So this person's focused on action words or action itself.
And they learn by doing.
Yes.
So, and if you think about this, if you think of your training programs, so if you have some training programs out there, and if you want to take this assessment complimentary to us, we will give you this assessment. You need
the NLP.
Yes, the NLP assessment of what we're talking about with visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Okay. We have this. And what we do is when we're in organizations, we have them understand what all their employees are. That way, when they're being trained, they're trained based on their learning technique.
Right, their style. Right.
Their style. So if you want to call us at 614-306-7922, and again, this is Peg and Pete with Business Talk, you will understand them a little bit better and be able to reach them better.
Yeah, and if you think about it, if you have a class of 10 employees and you're teaching them through some method, you may be reaching 80% of them with your method, and you may be losing some.
Right.
And one of our clients in St. Louis a few years ago, we realized this with one of their employees, and actually they had to take them off to the side and go through things with them one-on-one and show them how to do a task versus teaching them in a classroom. It just did not work.
And so that one client is who I was thinking of, Pete, of when we ended up saying, okay, everybody who comes through here, they take this assessment because the training is based on that. And so, and some other tips that you can have with words. Okay, so if you know that this person is visual, and another thing is look at shoes. You know people are visual if they generally will have nice shoes on that are uncomfortable. Generally, they're going to be a more visual person.
And they're well taken care of, shiny, not scuffed up.
Yeah, shiny. Thank you. And then kinesthetic would be more comfortable shoes. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be focused on comfort in what I wear, comfort in how I dress. So those are some other tips on looking at what these guys are wearing. So now that you have that information, whether it's you've given them an assessment or you're reading their the way they look and the way their head is. But you can also do it by the choice of words.
The choice of words. So they could say, I see what you're saying, the visual, right? Or I hear you, right? Or, hey, let's go do it.
So some of the words that would be, in addition to that, would be a visual would say picturesque, or look at the appearance, or they would, everything, all the descriptor words would be visual words.
So the words in their sentences will have some of those visual cues.
And then what about auditory? What would be some of the words that would be in a sentence with an auditory?
So one of a kind. It's a quiet setting, protected from the noise and clatter of today's living. It's earned praise of others. So again, auditory. It's quality and character, which we're told by others. Notice
how those words are. So when we return, we'll dive into kinesthetic words. So you're going to understand that. So the goal for this show is not only for you to learn what NLP is, but actually to be able to use it and be able to read people so that you can connect better, so you get better results.
Great.
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more Business Talk.
Well, welcome back. We are having a ball talking about, we're handling one area of neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, which is called, I'm going to give, auditory, visual, or kinesthetic. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so we've talked a little bit about visual words and auditory words. So kinesthetic words, you feel things, right? It's solid. Like, let's say we're describing a house. It's solidly constructed. Its warmth is conveyed throughout the many unique touches added by previous owners. They cared about the home. You can sense the difference from the moment you walk around it. You can sense it. It's spacious, and you can feel like you can move around freely. And it's not too large that you would get tired of taking care of it.
So the goal of all of this is that we want to teach you, but before the end of the day, how to create a better rapport, whether it's your employees, whether it's a client to sell, whether it's your family.
Your spouse, right?
Yeah, you and I were going to the same place, our
Yeah.
families and our friends.
Your producer.
How can we relate? And one of the things, Alan, at the break, we just talked a little bit about is he was saying, well, I think I'm visual, but maybe I'm kinesthetic, and you can be a little bit of everything. So
Yes.
if you look at the statistics that we were shown, 40% of people are visual, 40% are kinesthetic, and 20% would be auditory, meaning the makeup
On average. Yeah.
the makeup of myself is I'm all three of those. 40% visual, 40% kinesthetic, and 20% auditory, which is me. I
It
did
is
take
you?
the assessment,
Okay.
and I am
My
literally
auditory is
auditory.
pretty low, but the other two are pretty high.
Yes. So you could be a little bit, but the goal is what are you? So you want to connect visually and kinesthetic. So you need to do both. So it's not just
Gotcha.
one or the other.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
using kinesthetic words and visual.
Yep.
So let's say I'm going to go buy a car. This is my favorite part. So I walk in.
All right, Peg's going to buy a car.
I'm going to
Again,
buy a
you
car.
just bought a car.
You just bought a car, but I'm going to buy another car. So when I go in, the first thing I want to do is look at it. I want to look at the colors.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to look at the shape. I want to look at its design. Now, the second thing I want to do, because I'm kinesthetic, is I want to sit in.
You want to get right in.
I want to
and
get
sit
in
down.
and sit down in the seat.
Yeah.
I want to feel what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ironically, I've never tested a radio in a car because
you
I
just
don't
don't care.
Auditory
You know
wise.
it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You like music and everything. But
I like music, but
you don't care.
I don't care about how loud auditory
Yeah.
and the sound of the car doesn't really bother me either. I guess I'd prefer it quiet, but I'm not that high auditory where it matters. Well, a highly auditory person, the first thing they want to do is
You want to
hear
start
the
that
engine.
thing up.
They want
Right.
to see, they want to hear the engine.
Yep. Yep.
They want to, and then a kinesthetic wants to drive it.
Yes, they have to.
Right.
If you're going to sell it,
You've got to
they've
drive
got to
it.
drive it.
Because I got to do it. I got to experience it. So when you're selling, or even you can see the connection of how you approach things when you
Right.
really understand visual, auditory, kinesthetic of the NLP.
Okay. So let's give some examples
Okay.
of visual words.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay.
So appear, behold, blush, bright, brilliant, cloudy, dark, dull, examine, faded, foggy.
Now, Pete, you're giving us examples of visual words.
Yeah.
Now, describe to me, how would we use those words, for example?
Well, what I was thinking, the flip side is if I'm hearing those from one of my employees or a customer, that it might cue me that they're a visual person.
Got it.
Pretty, picturesque, panoramic.
So if they're using those words, it's going to allow you to understand how they communicate.
Even in an email, it may tip you off that this person is pretty visual.
So looking at your emails coming from customers, customer
Yeah.
service. Again, this is customer service. It's building relationships, building.
A lot of times we don't get to talk to our clients all the time on the phone. We get more emails than we do face-to-face or phone
Right.
conversations.
Right. So what would be the next category?
So, well, let's stick with visual for a minute. So phrases.
Oh, okay.
Here's a few visual phrases. So look at this. And I've had this, with employees too, and with clients. They get me up and take me out and show me.
They
Look
have
at
to
what
show
happened.
you it.
Yeah,
Well,
look at this.
And that's a really good point. In sales situations, if somebody's visual, you will want to show them the proposal.
Oh,
they need to see
definitely.
it.
Yes, yes.
They need to see it, or a plant tour.
And I know I'm highly visual because once I go out and I see something, let's say it's in a factory, I have that picture forever. I don't forget it.
Right.
And you do it too, because you know if we have a workshop, you know where everybody sat.
I can remember where everybody sits. I know
Their
that
face
that's how
and the chair they were in.
that's how I know them. And sometimes
Yeah, I
what
know,
they
it's
were
scary.
wearing. And
Yeah. And what they had for breakfast. She knows. Oh, yeah.
so visual, absolutely. That's
So-
good.
So here's some typical visual person phrases, things they might say. Draw conclusions, gaze at that, show me, paint me a picture, illustrate it, observe this, shed light on the issue. That's a colorful presentation.
So if you're training someone who's highly visual, they need to watch you do it.
Yeah, can I see it in print?
Right.
I'll look into it.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, and they need to see what you're doing in order to understand.
Paint me a picture, illustrate my point. Okay?
Right.
And then here's personal characteristics of visuals. So how you might be able to pick up that somebody's highly visual.
And again, guessing who you are. This is
Oh,
good.
yeah. You could self-diagnose here. Apt to breathe rapidly, high in the chest, somewhat shallow. Often tense around the shoulder areas. Eye movements are often up or straight ahead. Now, I do that when I think of something. I go, I look up.
Yes.
And then the answer somehow is up there.
Up there.
I don't
That
know
is,
why.
so if you ask a thought-provoking question, look at where the eyes go. You're right.
That's the key. Repeat that.
The thought-provoking question. So if you ask somebody what their name is, because they don't have to think about it, their eyes are going to look straight at you. But if you have to think about it, they're either going to go up, to the sides, or down. So if they go up, it's your visual. If you go look down as your first instinct, you're kinesthetic. And if you look sideways, you're going to be auditory. Now, ironically, we talked about me being visual and kinesthetic. So if you ask me a thought-provoking question, I first go up and then I go down. So you can see I'm visual kinesthetic.
Visual and kinesthetic.
Yes.
Yeah. And the kinesthetics, the notes here that I have, it says they often look down or to the right.
Oh, yeah,
and that's
down
how you
or
get
to
in
the
touch
right.
with your feelings.
Down or to the
Down
right.
to the right. I'll be darned.
There you go.
So other things that might help you cue you that this is a visual person, they tend to get ideas as images and get the whole image at once. So visuals may express an idea in segments and leave out details or drop a thought midway in a sentence.
Oh, you've heard of that before.
I have, yes.
That would be describing me, I'm just saying.
The visual sees the issue and believes it's completely explained.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So that could be a lapse in, when somebody says, can't you see it? It's right there. And they're like, no, I can't see it. It's a highly visual person will be able to see it all.
Yeah. Visuals may not be good listeners. Their minds tend to race quickly from one image to another, and they often fail to hear what's being said to them. They hear only part of what is said and quickly translate words to mental pictures.
And, just that words, I was reading and studying about communication and how our ability to process the words is so much faster than our ability to talk. So we can process faster in our brains.
Much faster, right?
Than our brain. So what happens is if you are a slower talker and you're talking to someone, they're inputting, their mind starts wondering.
Okay.
Because I'm like, okay, I've already processed that. Now let me think about what I'm going to do for dinner. So you have to A, be disciplined if you're on the other side of being a great listener, but B, speeding up.
Yeah, if you pick up on those cues. Now, what are some of the cues if you're starting to lose? I'm starting to lose you.
Yeah.
What are some of the cues?
Some of the cues is you're going to lose eye contact. You're going to hear maybe have somebody go,
Or they start looking at their
watch.
Their Apple Watch.
Or they start doing with their hand in a circle like, okay, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So if you are a slower paced person, start looking for those clues if you're with a fast paced person. But that is so true that you have to communicate quickly in some cases because your brain does.
Visual learners are motivated by visualizations of outcomes. So if you're a leader in an organization and you can help this visual person see what the outcome is going to be, this is what it's going to be like. This is what it will look like. This is what it'll be like to be in this new building, right? And they like lists and graphs and pictures to visually represent what is being explained. And they'll also resist. How do you feel about that questions? They don't really care for that.
So if you're having a new office, let's say that you're going to change around, you not only want to show them that what it's going to be for them to get the picture, but remember that's probably only going to get 40% of the people.
Yeah.
You have to do something else, like experience it.
Visuals often use their hands as they talk to provide a visual framework. I never thought of it that way. They're holding their hands like it's a
exactly.
frame. Yeah,
exactly.
Once they get their hands around it, then they got it. Okay. They often get visually distracted. They may not remember what is said. They need notes and minutes to learn. They are best when they can be shown rather than how to do it, just to be told.
That's good.
Which makes sense.
That's good. I like that. So some auditory. Let's just dive into auditory.
Yeah, we'll give
words.
you some auditory words here.
Articulate, express, lecture, listen, loud, moan, praise, ring. Notice all these: shout, sing, sound, tell, told. So those would be words if somebody's highly auditory that they'd be using, right, Pete?
Right.
And then some phrases. What we can do when we get back is we're going to go through auditory phrases,
right,
and then also kinesthetic,
and then personal characteristics of these.
Of both of those. So by the time you're done listening to this, you're going to be an expert at neurolinguistic programming in the area of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Wow.
That's
and this
mouthful.
is not just for your clients, but for your employees and also your family.
Yes.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
So we've been talking about neuro-linguistic programming, and the book we referenced is Brilliant NLP, and the author is Pat Hutchinson.
Oh, there we go.
Right?
There we go. And in this, that book goes far beyond what we've covered today.
It's very, very
I
deep.
mean, it's a good book. It's a
good
wonderful book. It's a really good. I have my kids. I have Allie and Lauren. They don't know where that book came from, but a lot of the exercises in there, like how do you change your belief system, and they really dive into how you think. And it's a good book.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's good. It's applicable to everything, and it's like a sort of a how to. Like, hey, here's a thought, and do this. So it's a good book.
And a lot of what we do as coaches is we are as coaches we're walking down the aisle in a supermarket. And we know what the opportunity for improvement is in your business or in you, and we're looking for the right tool to pull off the shelf. And this is one of those tools.
That's true. That was very good. That was a very good visual, Pete.
A visual.
It was
right?
a very good visual. You
yes, I'm highly visual. So.
you showed me the map, and I followed you.
In fact, I made myself hungry by talking about that stuff.
So now we're going to finish up by talking a little bit about we're going to finish talking about the auditory words, and then get into kinesthetics so you can understand this and how to address your team,
So we
etc.
covered the visuals pretty well. So here are some auditory phrases.
Okay.
Sounds good. I hear you. Let's talk about it. You hear that a lot. Can you orchestrate that? Call me. Let me tell you this. Lend me an ear. Loud and clear. I've heard that lots of times. Don't give me static. I'm in tune with that. Voice your opinion. Ask them. That rings true. Sing their praises.
Those are good. Yeah.
Amplify that point. Purred like a kitten. I got the silent treatment. You like that one?
I
Chime
like that
in.
one.
Don't grumble, and argue the point.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Those are really good. Now tell us a little bit about the auditory
Personal characteristics.
Yeah,
So these are some things that you may notice with an auditory learner. They speak a little slower. Their voice can be resonant and expressive. Breathing is evenly distributed.
for auditories. This
For
is
auditories,
auditory
yes.
learners, communicators.
They often speak in alliterations or rhymes or even rhythms, speak to themselves, and sometimes drop their heads in a telephone position, slightly tilting their head to the left, as if talking on the phone.
Oh, interesting.
It is interesting. Can be excellent listeners, but may talk too much. They love to talk on the phone and people enjoy talking with them. They like the sound of their voice and of others. Sometimes have trouble making decisions because they can easily hear both sides of an argument. So they can listen to this, listen to their own, and not make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Able to motivate themselves with self-affirmations. The power of positive thinking was designed for auditories.
I like that.
And don't ask them to visualize.
Oh, don't.
So
ask.
affirmations that they verbalize are great, but visualization not going to help them as much.
And see, what we've been telling people is visually, we say auditory and visual. We do both.
And maybe we do both to cover 60,
cover
70% of the population.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
To learn, they need to hear explanations. They follow directions well. They probably won't read the manual, so save your breath. I'm thinking of Ben. God bless you, Ben. He won't read the manual. He'll just do it.
Well, he's also the person that he's a doctor now,
Yes.
but he did it all by listening to the lectures. He didn't go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he told me that about a year into med school. I said, well, how are these professors? How are they compared to engineering school? Oh, I don't know. I don't go. I said, what do you mean you don't go? Well, I just download the lectures on my, get an audio file and listen to them on my computer. I'm like,
Just
really?
sits there. He's highly auditory, which is
funny.
interesting.
Yikes.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. So
Okay.
those are
Are we ready to
auditories.
move to kinesthetic?
Yeah, so
Okay.
kinesthetics.
So we've already covered visual. Then
Visual.
we did auditory. Now
Right.
we're doing kinesthetic. And so here are some language words that if people are using these words, that you can tell they're kinesthetic. Also, it would be words you would want to use to communicate with a kinesthetic. So absorb, balance, catch. See the action words? Compress, cool, cut, exhale, feel. So they're feeling words with action. Hot, to describe the feeling of things. Manipulate, ragged. Pete and I laugh. I use kinesthetic words all the time.
Constant. Yeah.
It's
almost 100%.
It's not just roll. It's not we're going to roll. It's roller.
Yeah.
It's an action word. Steady, stiffen, stir, touch. So when you hear these action words or warmth words to describe, you know that they're kinesthetic.
You got a pretty good hunch
And
that
also,
they have
think
a
of
high percentage.
And Pete, thank you for marketing wise.
Yeah.
When you're marketing and you're messaging this, you have to consider this as well. So, so do you want, who do you want to attract? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or do you want to use, because you want to attract as many people as you can, putting all three types of words in a message would be able to connect with them better.
Right. Like we're conversing with a company now that has a half a dozen partners. If you're going to send an email to that group, you should probably include all three types of words because you don't really know. So most likely they've got some of each.
So we did it. Pete and I were with a company and we said, okay, you want us to tell you who your marketing person is, what type is? And we said, get this ad. So we got an ad where the marketing person had put, they were searching for a person. And we read the ad. It was all kinesthetic words. So we said, that's okay. And only 40% of the people are really going to relate to you. You need to put in visual words.
It won't attract the other people.
Right. You need to do both. It's an and. So to attract
if you're casting a wide net, you need all three types.
So what would be some kinesthetic phrases?
So I get a feel for it. It's too hot to handle. Kick it upstairs. That scares me. Point it out. Stir it up. Toss this around. I'm not comfortable. That worries me. That's a concrete idea. I like that one. Go for it. That irritates me. What's the impact? Manipulate the data. It's a solid base. Pull our ideas together. It's action. Make a connection. That's action. Link up. Back up your claim. Cut through the whatever, blank. Open up, push it through, and quit talking. Go do it.
Interesting. Okay, those are all kinesthetic phrases. Now,
yes.
Let's talk, to wrap this up, let's talk to me a little bit about the kinesthetic
characteristics.
Yes.
Yeah, so a person that's kinesthetic is often going to be internally oriented, feelings intuitive, or externally oriented, touch, hands-on, physical, or a combination of both. They typically will speak slowly with long pauses or expressive feelings, but may be very animated if they're externally kinesthetic. Eyes often look down to the right. Peg mentioned that earlier. When they get in touch with their feelings. So, and again, I feel myself going up a lot. I actually notice it. Kinesthetics tend to feel a reaction to a situation, then try to find a logical rationalization. So they feel it first, and then they say what they feel. So they may ask the same question several times until they get a feeling for what's said. That's interesting.
That is, because you do that a lot.
Yeah. Repeat it.
Yes.
Yeah. They quickly sense tension around them. Attention span's often short. I relate to that. Cannot sit still without becoming aware of their own physical sensations.
Well, and that's one thing in meetings. Think about this. So if we're in meetings, we will see kinesthetics start to get not jittery, but anxious or fidgety.
Too long.
And so what we say is go ahead and stand up in the back. Yeah. Because they can disturb others because they're fidgety. They think everybody else is, but they're fine. So we encourage stand up in the back or have a stress ball or have something that they can play with in their hands to help create focus.
And those stand-up desks, are those desks that can rise up, are very handy for people that need to move a little bit.
Absolutely. When
negotiating with them, though, this is important. If you have a kinesthetic client, they often assume a deal is done when they feel it's complete. So if you're a kinesthetic salesperson,
and you think
make sure you've actually gotten their agreement on what you're about to do.
That's a
before
good one.
you split, because you feel it's done, and it may not be done. Visualizations or affirmations can be useful only if they create an internal feeling state or mental rehearsal that stimulates a physical reaction. So they've really got to feel it for visualization.
The funny part about that is when I have been doing my affirmations, I realize that when I say it and see it, it doesn't have the effect. So what I did to feel it, ironically, I did that on my own, is I started using gratefulness of, I would feel like my success there. So here would be an affirmation for me. I am a great mom because I spend time with Allie and Lauren and really help and then I start feeling and experiencing what I've done already. And I'm going to continue to help them and let them grow. So you can create gratefulness and experiences as a kinesthetic for affirmations to get you there.
Great.
To get you there.
Great. So last couple of hints here for in a sales situation. We'll just use some of the tips here for sales situation, which we're all in. And again, it could be a customer that you're selling something to or a client, but it could be one of your employees that you're selling a new idea or a new goal that you're about to embark on.
Right.
And you've got to get their buy-in. So use visual words.
So for visuals. So visual, you said use visual words.
Visual words. Have samples or graphs, something for them to look at.
I like that. Or pay attention to the details, including your own appearance or posture, because they notice that. So it matters if you're pressed or not, or if your shoes are shined or not, or if you're a female with nail polish, make sure they're not chipped.
If you're working with a visual.
Yes, because that would seem unprofessional.
Or your shoes too, right?
Yes, or your shoes polished.
So for selling to an auditory person, you need to talk about what other people have said. They're really big on referrals, on testimonials.
Testimonials. And then you also want to use, and which we use a lot, is just like we're directing you guys to takeactionbusinesscoaching.com and saying, listen to our website shows, because we direct a lot of people to tapes and auditory items that they can learn from. So that would be another thing for auditory.
Other things you can do for auditory clients or customers or employees is have frequent telephone conversations. Call them, match their tone, voice, and volume if you can, and then tell stories. Describe what it's like when we have this thing accomplished or we have this machine up and running or whatever it happens to be. Tell them a story about it.
There you go. And then the last one we want to cover for selling to kinesthetics is you want to give them something to touch.
So a model.
Or you want to meet face-to-face. That's important to kinesthetics because they need to experience that. Give them a tour of the facility.
Keep them active. Let them write on paper or circle brochure items, flip through the pages that you gave them, and shake hands when it's appropriate. So
what we covered today, Pete, was neurolinguistic programming, diving into specifically visual auditory kinesthetics, on how you sell them, how you build relationships with them, how you get better team members,
Lead
hiring,
them better.
marketing better. So all of this, we threw a lot at you very quickly. That's why we do tape all of our shows so that you can go back and listen, or even want to pass it on to someone and say, hey, listen to them. If you would like us to come in and do a assessment for your team, we could do all of this and do a training in about an hour and a half. If you're interested in that, we can give you details. Give us a call at
614-306-7922.
And we can give you a complimentary assessment. When you call, you could ask, hey, I'd like to see one of those assessments, and we can give you that free.
Perfect.
This has been Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed were those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given was not intended to replace that of your business advisor. For more information about the topics discussed today, call 614-306-7922. 614-306-7922. Tune in next week at this time for more Business Talk, your business, your success.